Welcome to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me, Josh Mansfield. It's Thursday, November 9th. I'm still here, Josh.
You are.
Let's see how much longer. We honestly have a really fun, interesting show today. Let's begin with the news off the top. And the biggest news this week, Matty O re-signs with Westside Discs, 4-year deal, as is kind of customary at this point, got the YouTube video announcement treatment. And so that's the way that news breaks. Like, this was the most obvious re-signing of the offseason, I think. I had basically zero expectation that he would possibly move. It's like a good anchor guy for kind of like a little bit of an offbeat brand. And he's coming off of his best year. He wins MVP Open. Easy call. And, I hope Matty O is getting that bag.
Yeah, it also, like, it's a good lockup for the, part of the new House of Discs brand. If they want to keep all these teams separate with sponsorships for players in different teams, just locking down Matty O and then being done with Westside and being like, yep, that's taken care of. All right, let's move on now. Let's go get somebody for Latitude 64. That's the obvious choice. The thing that's interesting to me is that Matty O's contract is going to expire when he's 40.
Wow.
It's a long-term deal for an older player. This is the quote unquote retirement deal, right? Like, I mean, that's going to carry him through all the way to 40. So, but I mean, would we be shocked if Matty O keeps playing through his 40s? Like, I don't know what else that guy does.
He has the right kind of style and game to continue to be effective in, as he gets older.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy has been a top 10 level talent on tour for 20 years. And is like, arguably he's playing his best ever right now.
Yep.
At what, age 35, 36?
36.
36. That's awesome. So, makes a lot of sense. I'm not really sure there's much more to say about it.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Also, and this one is an Multi-World Disc Golf Discord special right here. I haven't seen this anywhere else. So shout out to Sheriff in the Discord. Sheriff told us a little bit about tax day in Finland. Okay. So let me just summarize what this is. It's as he puts it, it's a weird cultural thing. All of the newspapers are filled with news about how much people earned in 2022 because all tax information about individuals is public in Finland. Company tax information is also public in Finland. It's just totally different than the U.S. where, like, obviously all that stuff. I mean, if you're not a public company, you don't have to divulge anything about any of your financial situation. But this is public news in Finland. So, they write about the celebrities and they write about the big business owners, etc. Well, guess who got written about? Jussi Meresmaa gets the write-up along with some other disc golfers. And so we know how much Jussi earned in, personal taxable income. And this is pre-sale of Discmania to House of Discs. Worth pointing that out. So according to the tax data, and this is from Iltalehti, a newspaper in Finland, Jussi earned 836,700 euros in 2022. That was 607,000 euros in earned income and about 230,000 in capital income. So that's, capital gains could be sale of stock. That could be just like I don't know how the taxes work in Finland, so I'm not going to pretend to know. But, a very, very good year for Jussi. Josh, what do you make of that number?
Jussi's getting the bag. He's doing, sounds like he's doing pretty well. And you got to imagine then if that's the kind of income that he's making, then a sale to House of Discs is going to set him up with probably not the same level, but at least a very, very good contract and a lot of money in that in that sale itself. So definitely, I mean, UC's doing pretty well, and it's interesting because I think it gives us a little bit of a benchmark, right? When we look at now, the interesting question is like how much of how much of Discmania did UC own? When you look at shareholders and those capital gains.
Well, I'm going to tell you that I know that he made a ton of money, and the question, of course, is how much was he paid in cash versus how much was he paid in stock in House of Discs,
right?
And I don't know that those details will ever be disclosed. At some point, we'll have him on again and we'll ask him. But Josh, I have fresh off the presses, I will note, 2022 tax information about Discmania. Parent company Spin 18. So this is Discmania and their disc golf park brand, whatever else is under Spin 18.
Sure.
I don't know the full details there. But in 2022, they did 14 million euros in sales for an operating profit of about 3.7 million euros. Now, that was down from 2021, where they did 4.65 million euros in profit. But up huge over 2020, where they did 1.7 million euros in profit. So when you think about that, right, and you think about the multiple that a company's worth when it's doing, even coming off the highs, right? So 2022 data, they do 3.6 million euros in profit. In an acquisition, a company's going to be paying at least 5x that, if not 10x that. It's probably somewhere in that range. And, obviously, it's the company's worth, let's call it 40 million euros.
Yeah.
Maybe more. So it's, there's various ways you can do valuations, and who knows, like sales could have been down. That's all speculation, but very, very good, a very good 2 years for Discmania. And I would expect that trend, which is that like way above 2019 levels, but below 2021 levels, is going to be pretty consistent across the industry.
Yeah. It makes me wonder, what do you think like the big players are, like Innova and Discraft relative? Because now that we have Discmania as like kind of the benchmark, I would say Innova and Discraft are both bigger and probably did more in sales than Discmania.
Probably.
Where would you put that? Do you have even the slightest inkling to make a guess?
Well, in a Cashline newsletter coming out of the pandemic, sometime in 2021, probably, I looked at PPP loan data from the U.S. As a way of kind of getting a proxy for like revenue, because your payroll is probably going to approximately track your revenue in relation to other businesses. So for those who don't know, right, the PPP loans, you were able to get money from the government to cover the cost of of essentially salaries in your company. And so Innova's was the biggest for sure. Discraft was the second biggest. How we would try to calculate those numbers moving, ahead out of 2019 levels into now, that's impossible. But I would expect Innova is probably like $150 million business at least. Wow. That'd be my guess.
10 times Discmania.
Market leader. I put that projection is only like 4 times Discmania. Because I think Discmania is probably worth about 40 million.
Okay.
And that's in euros, so you'd have to do a currency conversion. But like, let's say it's 50 million US. Maybe Innova's 200 million US. I don't think it's like over 500 million, but I definitely think it's well over 100.
Okay.
That'd be my estimation if it was to sell in the open market.
Do you think Innova operates Discmania? So here's, you want to see something really interesting. So Discmania, if you scroll down to the next line, you've got operating profit 22%. Do you think that figure is pretty consistent across?
Yeah, that's nice margin.
That's great margin.
Like, what are typical margins? 10% net profit margin is fairly average. 20% is high. As like a general rule. Mm-hmm. So 22% is really good. I think that margins are high in disc golf in general.
Prices are
because,
up.
Well, and it's just like you have a very simple business. Yeah. It's like you need to make the frisbees and then you need to sell the frisbees, and like you have the cost of the frisbee, and then you're able to charge obviously an extreme markup, and people are going to eat it up. I mean, people have absorbed higher disc prices with seemingly no impact on sales.
Yeah.
So I think it's, if that's accurate, and again, this is all ballpark stuff, but that's a really good number.
The last thing that I wanted to highlight that I think is interesting, Discmania was operating at a loss in 2018 and 2019.
That is true.
It was
close to break even.
Close to break even. We're talking like tens of thousands of dollars. But still a loss. And then 2020 hit and just shot up.
And you wonder what would have happened to Discmania if they hadn't diversified away from Innova as their manufacturing partner. It would have been tough times for them. Yeah. But yeah, they were basically operating, they lost 34,000 euros in 2020 what was that? 17?
19.
Which is not really, I mean, that's nothing.
It's
like
flat. Yeah.
I mean, it's just that you're like probably investing a lot in growth. Interestingly, they cut their head count from 23 people to 19. I also don't know if this data includes their U.S. operations, which might be a separate thing. So who knows? But times have been good for the disc golf industry, that's for sure.
Yep. It's good.
Could they proxy. And should they have paid Simon? I mean, could they? 4 million, they got 4 million euros in profit, Josh.
4 million.
The question is, would it have been worth it?
Yeah.
There's so much more value in a switch than there is in a keep. And to like siphon off 25% of your profits to pay them out.
And like, is that 25%, that assumes like that's for 10 years.
Right.
And you're only 3 years removed from not even making a profit. I mean, that's.
I hear you. Anyway, let's go.
So did Discmania, I guess.
Yeah, we go back to tax day, okay? Because there were some other incomes reported. Mm-hmm. Seppa Payu made 94,500 euros in 2022.
Nice salary.
Not bad. 57,000 in earned income and capital income of 37,000.
So he's got stock in Prodigy, probably.
Yeah, I don't know what capital income means exactly, because like at least in the U.S. you only pay capital gains tax when you sell. When you sell, right? Like if you buy stock and you hold it, you're not paying taxes on that. So I don't know what that means.
Who knows?
Other well-known names in Frisbee golf, according to the article, Henna Blomroos earned 52,000 euros last year. Not bad. Maybe a little bit of a sense of a benchmark for what Innova is paying their top women.
Because,
Nicholas Ansela made 46,500 euros.
Interesting that Nicholas made less than Henna.
Agreed.
Yeah.
He's getting a bigger contract.
He better. I think that is underpaying for Nicholas.
I mean, Discmania's going to have to pay up for folks. Vino Makala made only 11,000 euros, but he has his own company, Vino Makala Incorporated, basically.
Okay.
Whose revenue in the last financial period, which was October 25th of 21 to December 31, 2022. So that's probably incorporated in 2021 and didn't file returns. So that's like a year and a quarter.
Okay.
It was 167,000 euros. with profit after taxes of 59,000 euros. So it seems to me that he's running his income through a corporation, probably for tax reasons.
I wonder if he does like independent disc sales as well, like his own website or something. So,
Yeah,
but it sounds like about 59,000 is what you said.
Yeah.
Plus his 11, so
Yep.
70,000.
Yep.
That's fine.
It's great.
Yeah, it's good for middle pack player. Yeah,
So there you go.
interesting.
But
I love
listen,
this.
we talk about what the players are getting paid. The top business folks, they are getting paid.
They are getting paid.
They are getting paid. Every time you buy yourself a Tour Series disc, the player gets some money, but so does the rest of the business.
That's right.
Interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. Going to be curious to continue to follow this data. And stay tuned for a more in-depth look at across European countries. I'm going to be doing a subscriber-only cash line article about this soon. So, Josh, what else we got?
Got to give a congratulations to Paul Ulibarri, who got married this past week. So.
Yes, amazing. Sarah Wysocki, and that is indeed Ricky's sister. And Paul got married over the weekend in North Carolina. And so congratulations to the two of them. Awesome to see. And nice to have the off-season wedding.
Yeah, good call there. Yeah.
Pound's the best of the best. It's the quality, the craftsmanship, the vision for what a bag could be. Let's start from the beginning. I didn't choose Pound, I chose Levi. I trusted Levi to make the best bag possible.
He's always trying to innovate. He wants it to be perfect. And I think he's the kind of guy that nothing's ever perfect.
I trust the product, I trust the people behind the product.
At this point, I don't think anyone's disputing that it's the best made bag.
It's quiet times right now, but we're going to turn our attention now to the preseason manufacturer power rankings that we put together, and take a look at how people actually did in terms of the players and their seasons, and then maybe re-rank. Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
So first of all, I think we should. I just want to quickly start at the top. I actually think it's more interesting to start at the top than at the bottom.
Okay.
I'll give our order. We did a combined power ranking, so we didn't split out MPO and FPO. We said, look at the teams together.
Yep.
What do you put as number one? We had number one as Discraft, number two Innova, then Discmania, MVP, DD, Latitude, Prodigy, DGA, Lone Star, and then Infinite/TSA.
So quick
we
note,
did
Charlie.
not rank. Yes, go ahead.
TSA was an honorable mention and was not included on the list, but the two players that were Infinite that made the Pro Tour Championship in each division are Infinite/TSA players. So
Right.
it only made sense to just kind of stick them together. Infinite TSA gets bundled here, even though for like actual sponsorship reasons, they're not.
Right. Westside was not ranked. Castleblast was not ranked. Mint was not ranked. And so let's begin. So does Discraft deserve the number one spot? What do you think, Josh?
Oh boy, I think they have to. The big knock. So let's give a metric real fast. What we did is we went through and we pulled all the players who made the Tour Championship and listed them with their teams. Discraft has the most by far when you do the combined numbers. They have 9 in MPO, which is the most for the MPO side, with 4 players on the FPO side who make it.
9 out of 32. Wow.
9 out of 32. They almost
It's like 30%.
had 30. Yeah. Incredible. The knock that so let's give the quick list. They have Anthony Barella, Aaron Gossage, Dickerson, Ezra Aderhold, Adam Hammis, Ben Calloway, Corey Ellis, Paul Macbeth, and Andrew Presnell. It's guys that don't come to your mind when you're thinking of like players top, like a team's top talent, but the depth of Discraft is just immense. Over on the FPO side, not only do they have depth by getting 4 which is the second most into the Pro Tour Championships. They hold the second place Missy Gannon, fourth place Holland Hanley, and then Valerie Mondahano and Paige Pierce, who, due to injury, are further down the list in terms of ranking, but still have to be considered like top tier power. The only knock that you can find for Discraft is that the MPO team's best finish was 9th at the Pro Tour Championship in the Pro Tour standings, and that is Anthony Barella. They are, with Paul Macbeth having an off/injury year, they lack a player who is able to command a top 5 presence on their team. That is the only knock I can see for Discraft.
Yeah. Impressive stuff. I mean, you figure Valerie and Paige, when fully healthy, are top 10, right?
Mm-hmm. And probably top
so
5.
That would give them
for Paige.
4 top 10 players, which would be approximately on par with what Innova's got.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, Innova wins in FPO with Owen Scoggins, Kat Murch, Haley King, Jessica Weiss, Jennifer Allen, Holly Finley. We knew that coming into the season. And that doesn't even include Henna and Evelina, who didn't make the Tour Championship, but are obviously have the skill to be in that
largely
category.
because of play time. Yep.
Yeah. But on the MPO side, it was a little thin this year. I mean, they had Calvin, and he held it down.
They got Calvin.
But then the next two, they only had 2 other guys, Bradley Williams and Joel Freeman. They're and we also knew this going into the season. Really not deep on the MPO side anymore on Star Team.
It's interesting because you look at other players, like Innova still has contracts with like some of the old guns who like have been around forever. You've got Greg Barsby, you've got Garrett Gerthy, right? Like players who have been around for a long time. And in the past, they were the 19 to 30 pack, right? And they're holding down in the 20s. And so Innova probably would have had 3 years ago 4 or 5 people. They're just falling off. They did. Right. They did. And then they had Anthony Barella back then, right? And so like they did have the depth. That is falling off. Those players are getting older. They're not as competitive. Their games are not as competitive. Garrett Gerthy can't putt. Greg Barsby somehow manages to win a tournament every year, but
they're still good players. They're still fun players to watch. I mean, when Greg Barsby gets on a Circle 2 heater, he's awesome to watch. Yes. Double G is always going to be fun to watch. I think those players deserve their contracts in a sense of like,
agreed.
Like Double G is like these are known names. These are star level players in the sense of like marketing ability, not elite tier, but like B or C tier guys. But I think they need to shore up the MPO side. Prodigy's kicking their ass with the young players.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's true. Prodigy's kicking everyone's ass with the young players right now.
Right.
But let's see what happens.
So we think Discraft stays number 1. Innova stays number 2.
Easy call. No one has so the only thing, right, is like we have to talk about Prodigy.
Yep.
Now we had them at 7th, and that was just wrong.
Go ahead. Remember, the number 1 knock was we did not think they had an FPO player who had any chance of doing anything this season. That was a big knock against them. Number 2, I don't think we gave the necessary credit to the likes of Ezra Robinson, Alden Harris, Fino Makla,
Isaac
Welk,
Robinson too.
Even Isaac, yes, yeah. So we did not give enough credit to their MPO players, and we said they had no FPO.
Now, Luca Lorenzen finished in the Tour Championship. She was 18th, and I thought had a really nice season. What a finish to the year. She played great at Worlds. And then, remember she hit that putt at Worlds was that for 3rd?
Podium, I think. Yeah.
I think it was for podium, and she like broke down crying. It was an awesome moment.
It's a good story.
So, she got some FaceTime for sure. But then on the MPO side, I mean, amazing, right? Isaac Robinson, number 2, Gannon Burr, number 3. Ezra Robinson, wins a tournament. He's 12th. Parker Welk is a Prodigy guy, 54th, but qualified, won a tournament.
Yep.
So I think the quality of their MPO side and the depth of their MPO side. So what they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Second only to Discraft. For me, they definitely jump Latitude 64, and they definitely jump DD, and they definitely jump MVP.
Agreed.
I mean, like, the quality of the MPO side has to put them above all of those at least. Now, the question is, do they get the 3 spot in front of Discmania? We had Discmania at the 3, and Discmania has a good case. They have top 5 players on both sides in Eagle and Ella. And then Kyle Klein was top 10, won a major. Nicholas Antila, a nice depth piece. But, you know, they're thin, right? That's it.
They are thin.
The question is, does Prodigy's... Clearly they win an MPO. They lose directly head-to-head in FPO, but is it enough on the MPO side for you to push them in front?
Discmania gets a knock as well for the lack of depth on their FPO team. And so given that they both kind of get that knock, Discmania's got the better one. Better in Ella over Lucky for sure. But at the end of the day, like head-to-head, and it's not even... Like it'd be one thing if you were saying like take Discrafts and you're like, okay, let's just look at their top 3 players, right? And let's look at the top tier of their team, and you take top 3 of Discraft and top 3 of Discmania, right? Then that's like, oh well, like, you know, Discmania wins in 2 out of 3 of those cases. That's not even the case in Prodigy versus Discmania. Take top 3 from both. Isaac, Gann, and Ezra beat Eagle, Kyle, and Nicholas in wins, in majors, in standings, in like it does not matter how you cut it. The Prodigy top as well as the depth beat Discmania. I think Prodigy has to move to number 3 this year.
I agree. Once again, we underrate Prodigy coming into the season, and these young players are just really that good.
One note, Mulligan, Lucky took 7th. It was to get her into top 10 at Worlds.
Oh, it was top 10. Thank you.
Top 10.
I didn't. Yeah. That makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah. So
who
the big
top
question
3?
about Prodigy though,
Missy, and who was third?
It was Holland.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Holland. So
back-to-back top 3s.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, I'm with you. Prodigy 3.
So Prodigy goes to 3. I think Discmania's got to stay in the 4 though.
I have a counterpoint.
Okay, I'm happy to hear this counterpoint.
Kristen is that good.
Ooh, I love that counterpoint.
Latitude should be next. Now this is it's a bold claim because it's basically just Kristen.
Yep.
Going up against Eagle, Kyle, Nicholas, Ella. But like 4 majors versus 1 major. Incredible amounts of FaceTime on television. Number 1 star in the game right now. Literal celebrity in Estonia. I think for sure, I have Latitude above DD and MVP.
Agreed. I completely agree there. Yes.
And then it's a question of whether I think that that's enough to push them past Discmania. What do you think?
That's tough. So I would still probably give it to Discmania, and I'd be interested to see it. But so you cut it in the marketing sense, right? So let's just take the marketing sense. I don't think it's wholly obvious that Kristen by herself outsold Eagle and Kyle and Nicholas and Ella. Eagle commands a lot of weight, a lot of sales.
He does.
The Cloudbreakers are very popular. The Rainmakers are very popular. Kyle Klein is getting signature discs. He's got a couple of them now. He also wins a major. So it's not obvious to me that Kristen by herself outpowers in a domestic, now obviously in Estonia, like that deserves some credit. That's there, right? but then if you also just said, okay, like let's assign points like a Constructors Cup in F1, right? And give points based on finishes. Like Latitude has to get knocked for the fact that they couldn't get an MPO player into the Pro Tour Championships.
They do.
Gotta knock them. So I still give Discmania the 4 and Latitude the 5, but I think one half decent MPO player and Latitude could easily be moving itself up that board.
They gotta get somebody this offseason. I mean, part of this exercise is thinking about what are people doing next year. Where do companies feel like they want to try to like make a splash? Latitude getting an MPO player is the world's most obvious thing.
Yeah.
It's just a must. Okay. Well, we can agree to disagree there. It's close for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, how about MVP versus DD for the next spots? Okay, so that would be for spots 5 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
They're clearly ahead of the DGA, Lone Star, Infinites of the world, but they're very close to one another. So DD has Ricky, who finished 4th in the standings, and Chris Clemens, who finished 25th. And then they have Macy Valadiaz, who finished 10th. MVP is Sarah Hokum, who finished 9th. And then on the MPO side, they have Simon, who's 7th, and James Conrad, who was 20th. So, on average, MVP ever so slightly outduels. Like if you add up all of their player rankings, right, in standings. For MVP, it's 36, so averaging 12, and for DD, it's 39. So I mean, it's extremely close.
12 and 13. Yeah.
So what is your tiebreaker in your mind? Simon's the most marketable player on the list, but Ricky was the highest finisher on the list.
Yep. Ricky wins the Pro Tour Championship.
Yes. Simon wins 2 Elite Series events.
Yep. Including
Ricky had one as well.
Yeah. So they both get 2 wins. Oh my goodness. Coming into this, I thought that I was going to flip it, but I think I still give it to MVP. Like their performance to me is just so comparable in terms of wins. Like the 4 to 7 spot doesn't feel like a huge difference to me because like what's separating them in their resume is not that significant. It would be one thing if the 4 to 7 spot were let's just look at points real fast and let's make that point. So if you're looking at Disc Golf Pro Tour points, you have Ricky, who came in at 979 and Simon at 851, but that's like a pretty steady progression where like the top guys are above 1,000 and then Calvin's at 1250, right? So it would be one thing if the drop off between Ricky and Simon was 300 points, which is the difference between Calvin and Ricky, but only 100 points. I mean, that's one tournament. So I'm going to leave it, and I would say I put MVP above. I think Simon is more valuable of a player right now.
They definitely have the splashier season. That's the other thing. It's like everybody's been talking about MVP because of the Simon thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the Simon line, and I'm with you. I mean, Ricky was the best player of the bunch, but like James Conrad is a little bit more of a high-profile player than Chris Clemens and finished better than him. It was extremely even, but I think MVP gets the nod because of the buzz.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we get down to DGA, Cole Redallen 10th, Katrina Allen and Allie Smith 8th and 12th, respectively.
Yep.
Lone Star, Nico and Emerson 28-29, and Lisa Fakis 17. And then Infinite, you've got James Proctor 11 and Maria Oliva 13. And I want to put into the conversation Matty O on Westside at 6th.
Yep. So I think DGA should stay where it's at.
Agreed.
In the 8th spot. I mean, they have good players. They got wins. Like
2 top 10s.
Could be higher if Katrina plays better at the tail end of the season.
I don't think they can get above anybody else. Maybe I could see them getting past DD, but
if Katrina takes like 3rd in overall standings and Cole Redallen wins another big one,
sure,
I think could pass Dynamic Discs. There's a possibility.
Well, I mean, yes, like if they had completely different performances.
I'm saying, so let me put it this way. I see a path to DGA making it above dynamic discs. I think Texas freezes over before Lone Star passes DD. So like that's my point. So DGA's top. I slide Infinite above Lone Star.
Yes.
I think James
I'm
Proctor
glad you went there.
had a great season. He was on coverage. He had some good tournaments. He was like a big showy person in Europe as well, with lots of FaceTime in Europe. I think he was a lot of value to Infinite, and Maria Oliva played really well as well. Finishes 13th, middle of the Pro Tour Championship pack. So Infinite to me moves up in the 9 spot. And then I think Westside passes Lone Star, and Lone Star loses the top 10 spot.
I like it.
And here's why. Emerson Keith gets a win, which I think a lot of us forget about when we look back at the season. Lone Star is a victim of their own expectations. They came out and built up this hype, signed all these players. Like this was going to be their year. This was like they were going to be the new thing on the market. And they did not do all that well. And they spent a lot of money on players who did not perform well, who all regressed. And Emerson Keith is the only one who gets a win.
Did they regress? I mean, I don't know. I feel like these performances
Nico
are
regressed,
about in
didn't he?
line with my expectations. I guess. But he was coming off of a suspension.
That's true. That's true. Oh, I forgot they signed Nico off of his suspension. I guess like in my head, this is a regression from 2 years ago in my head, because Lisa Fakis 2 years ago was in the top 10 in the Pro Tour standings, and Nico had a win. And so 2 years ago, these players were like, did pretty well. Nico was top 10 2 years ago as well. But yeah, no, honestly, they didn't regress at all from last year. They played the exact same.
By the way, speaking of Lone Star, I just thought this was awesome. Did you see their Instagram post about the Ranger team?
No, I didn't.
Here, take a look. Join the Ranger team. Who let the dogs in? Question mark with a picture of a dog. It's like their website.
I'm glad they're leaning into that.
I love it. That's awesome.
Oh, man.
That's the best possible way.
Absolutely.
To like deal with that.
And
like,
you need to
that genuinely makes me like the company more. I'm like, good for you. Like, it's not like they could have known it was a dog applying, right? Like,
print a disc, send it to them, put the dog's name on it.
Yes.
Yeah. But when it comes to power rankings,
get a picture of the dog, like make a stamp.
Yeah. Yep. Good on them. But when it comes to power rankings, I slide Westside above Lone Star now.
Yeah, I can see it.
Sixth place.
It's not like Nico Emerson and Lisa Fakis were like particularly relevant players. I mean, got to give credit to Emerson for getting a win.
Absolutely.
But Matty O also got a win and was on coverage all the time.
And 6th in standings, and yeah.
So yeah, I think it's close because Westside, doesn't have an FPO presence and it's pretty much just relying on Matty O. But having a top 10 guy like that makes a real difference.
It does. It really does. And a very popular top 10 guy.
Sure.
And the other thing, here's one other thing that did not make the Pro Tour Championship. But Westside does have more of an FPO presence than I think they will always get credit for. They have Sayananda, who
Good point.
won a silver event.
Beat Kristen at a silver.
Right? So, like, didn't make Pro Tour Championship. And if we open up the can of worms of, like, let's create the list of people.
Yeah, she's really struggled at the end of the season. I mean, she played really poorly at the end of the year, but had a nice stretch there.
Didn't play from DMC until Ledgestone.
Yeah.
So misses a ton of time.
Full-time tour. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Westside gets a pass. Honestly, I think Sayananda was more relevant than Lisa Fakis.
Good point. You're right.
I bumped Westside to 10.
My oversight there. That's mulligan to me for not remembering that Cy was on Westside. Interesting stuff. So here's the question, of course, like, what's going to happen next year, right? So Discraft, we already talked about how they have all these FPO players up for renewals. Basically their whole relevant team. You know, Innova's got to want another MPO. Prodigy can't pay everybody. Isaac's still under contract. You figure Gannon's gone. What's going to happen with Alden Harris? Like, they can't keep everybody. So, and Latitude 64 surely is the most desperate for an MPO.
Has to be.
Will they be able to outbid Innova for like the top MPO guy? Because I would expect that one of those two companies will sign the big MPO name. MVP, well, they're sitting it out, right?
Yeah.
If somebody comes along and it's a good fit and like it's a mid-tier guy, that might work out, but there's no way they're going to sign another big name.
Yeah, MVP sitting it out. I think Dynamic Discs is sitting it out because it doesn't make sense for a company underneath House of Discs to bid big money for a player when they already have Ricky, who's on a 4-year, $4 million deal, and Latitude sitting missing everything, right? Like, makes no sense for DD, makes no sense for Westside. So Westside's out. I don't think Infinite can command the money. Lone Star's not going to do it. DGA doesn't feel likely. Prodigy can't pay everybody. So it's Latitude.
And they already have the guy, you know? Like, they already have Isaac.
Exactly. And the guy, Kevin.
And Kevin got paid.
Who got paid? Yeah.
Kevin's under a nice, cushy contract right now.
It's too bad they don't have any other A-tier players, right? Gannon walks.
How long is that gift going to keep on giving?
Oh, long time. But
you know, Innova doesn't need another name, but like they're getting their ass kicked by Discraft right now on the MPO side, and that has to chafe them. It has to.
Here's a question though. You know what I think is more likely? I think Innova takes some of Discraft's depth.
I could see that.
Like, remember Ben Calloway with exciting things to come? Like prime Innova candidate, right?
Sure.
Sign him on a 2-year. Discraft loses one of those top 20 guys. Innova picks it up. Everything, the world is balanced again.
I mean, is that moving the needle for you though?
Is it like, moving it?
You know, maybe he's just like, who's going to give me the best deal? Which that's what everybody should do. But like,
and that's true. But if you're Innova, like you said, they're getting beat by Discraft. The only thing they're getting beat by is depth, though. So steal a couple of their deep players, their role players, pull them over, and then you're good because you've got Calvin.
All right, let's make some actual predictions here.
Okay,
put your neck on the line.
All right.
Okay, so again, I'm going to look at some of the big names up for contract. Gannon Burr, of course, on the MPO side. Eagle.
Yep.
Vino. No, sorry. I keep saying Vino, but he re-signed already. Eagle, Gannon, Matty O's off the board.
Yep.
Really, those are the two big ones who are like up right now. Like, there's plenty of other middle tier guys. Aaron Gossage, James Proctor is an interesting one. I don't know. Like,
had some news.
Let's see. I don't know. Andrew Presnell.
Okay, here's
Double G.
I'll give you my predictions. Ready for this?
Okay. So, like, the question is, assuming we don't get a sponsorship contract break, right?
Yep.
Which I feel like that's basically impossible to predict.
Yeah.
The question is, where's Eagle going? Where's Gannon going?
Eagle gets re-signed by Discmania. Gannon gets signed by Latitude 64.
Latitude.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Here's why. Remember, there was talks that he's going to Discmania, right? That's
Sure.
where he was going during the
Sure.
Prodigy mess. Doesn't happen.
Yep.
Discmania gets acquired by House of Discs.
Right.
House of Discs has a vested interest in spreading out that talent, as far as we know,
Sure.
unless Latitude just like gets killed this year, which doesn't feel likely. So why would same philosophy as to why Dynamic Discs doesn't go after a big player is the same reason Discmania shouldn't go after another big player. Discmania just needs to re-sign Eagle and keep their team solid. Latitude now signs Gannon. They've got the infrastructure and the money to pay big. They pay him big. He lands Latitude. Innova signs either Aaron Gossage or Andrew Presnell or like Ben Callaway.
I like the theory. I really do. I don't think I've heard anybody say Latitude 64 in connection with Gannon Burr, but like the logic is there.
Now that Discmania is owned by House of Discs, it'd just silly.
I guess here's the question.
Okay.
Latitude is still an important brand in Europe.
Uh-huh.
Do they want someone who's more popular in Europe to rep? Like maybe Gannon's just big enough that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm still going to say, no, I don't know. Like, are they really going to sign Nicholas, Eagle, and Gannon to Discmania and leave Latitude just blowing in the wind?
That'd be silly.
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
But you know what? Just for the sake of it, and because the connections have been there, and that's all we've heard is like Discmania rumors. Oh, man, Gannon could go to Innova too. Like,
I think Innova's more likely than Discmania at this point. It would be,
and we've heard like little rumors about him buying destroyers, and like it would make sense to have. Innova like wants to go for the big name.
Innova's like, we're done messing around.
Can Innova outbid the House of Discs conglomerate for Gannon's talents? I could really see it. All right, I'll just go with it. I'll say Gannon to Innova.
Okay.
You're saying Gannon to Latitude.
I say Gannon to Latitude.
I do think if he ends up at House of Discs, it makes so much more sense for him to be at Latitude than it does for him to be at DD.
And
or at Discmania.
If Gannon's like, yo, I really wanted to throw Discmania, you're like, okay, see this Cloudbreaker? Wipe the stamp. Here you go. Like, put it in your bag. We don't care. Like,
we make the discs anyway.
Right.
They're all the same discs.
Throw what you want. Here's a Saki
also,
Bomb Felon.
Like, how long until House of Discs? Let them throw all of them.
Right.
I mean, Trilogy, you've been able to throw all of them for a long time, and that was before they were one company.
Yeah. House of Discs is like, here's a Berg, here's a harp. I don't care, man.
I'm going Innova though. I'm going
Innova. Latitude 64 on your chest and throw whatever you want.
Gannon wants to be that classic Innova brand. I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. Are we going to get a surprise? That's the other thing I want you to predict. Are we going to get like a contract broken surprise? You want some names for who's coming up in 2024?
Yeah, hit them.
Just like as potential folks who might break a contract. Adam Hammis, Isaac Robinson, Joel Freeman, Brody, Ezra,
no.
AB, Cole Radalin, Ella Hansen.
No. The only player, and I don't even know why I think this, could Anthony Barella command enough attention to get a contract that makes it worthwhile to buy out? He doesn't. He has the flashings of like the top tier, right? He gets the closest he's ever been in his career to winning a big one this year, but he doesn't get it. Like, now's the time to pay Anthony Barella.
But I think he already did that last year and got paid by Discraft.
I mean, 2-year deal. Like, could Latitude buy out Anthony Barella's last year and pay 3-4 year contract to Barella?
Boy, I gotta say I don't see it. I think AB's like got like good branding, all connected into Discraft right now.
That's true.
I don't know. I don't see it.
Okay.
Other guys who are up, you've got 2025 contracts ending.
Is that Rick?
Who would be interesting? Ricky, Chris Dickerson, Nate Sexton. Nate's never leaving.
Nate's.
Kristen.
Not unless they let him pack his
No way
money
Kristen
printing machine.
leaves, right? That how crazy would that be?
If Kristen leaves?
Yeah.
No way.
No way, but that would be
no
crazy.
way. House of Discs is literally going to put a picture of Kristen's face up on their headquarters. Like, Kristen's not going anywhere.
I don't expect it, especially after Prodigy sued Gannon.
Yeah. But
I said it at the time, that's going to shut down this kind of switching.
No, I disagree. Actually, it's gonna. I think it's gonna like temper some, but I think for the right player, I mean, Simon got bought out.
Yeah, but the companies have to agree to that.
Sure,
Which that case they did.
And I think that's still a very real possibility in our shifting economic in the economic landscape of disc golf right now. I think it's completely feasible to me that some players get bought out of contracts because Discraft has 15 people that they've got to pay. And so someone calls and says, hey, we'll offer you all of AB's contract and just pay it out. And they go, well, maybe. Or Adam Hammis call and pay to buy out Adam Hammis's contract. Possible. But I think it only happens with the top players. And so they have to be playing better than they are to get that happening.
Simon Lizotte, 10 years through 2032. Drew Gibson, 10 years at Infinite through 2031. Macbeth through 2031 at Discraft. That's a long time from now.
It's a long time from now.
No, I'm not saying that any of those players are breaking their contract.
You heard it here first. Charlie says that Paul Macbeth is going to break contract.
No, absolutely not. He's in a perfect spot. I mean, he just had his worst year as a professional since before he was winning tournaments. And you wonder, I don't think Discraft's going to ever regret this deal because he's the greatest to do it. And people are going to buy Macbeth discs forever, just like they buy Jordan sneakers still.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that from a competitive standpoint, there's just no way he's going to still be straight balling at 2031.
The guy owns a course that's starting the Pro Tour this year.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Who cares?
He hangs out with Dylan Cease. Who cares?
Oh man. Well, interesting stuff. I'm excited to see what happens this offseason, and there's our rankings. Well, I want to let you know, if you are not yet an Ulti-World Disc Golf subscriber, now's a great time. We're going to be going inside the circle for our subscriber bonus segment this week, and we're going to be talking about, we talk a lot about players moving and shifting around. But one of the undercurrents in the business side is that we're seeing consolidation happening. What we've got going on with House of Discs. Are we going to see other manufacturers start to look to consolidate, and we end up in an industry with a couple of big players instead of, 5 or 6, we have 3. And maybe a company goes public. We're going to speculate a little bit about how that might look, who might be acquisition targets, and take it from there. So join us there on Inside the Circle. Go to discgolf.ultiworld.com/subscribe to join up. It's less than $5 a month. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we'll talk to you next week right here on The Upshot.